Ever wonder who the bad boys of USA are and why they garner so much attention? You've probably heard the term thrown around in various contexts, but what does it really mean? Well, the bad boys are those individuals who seem to defy norms, challenge the status quo, and often find themselves in the eye of the media storm. They're intriguing, controversial, and they certainly know how to make headlines. You'd be mistaken if you thought these bad boys were only found in one sphere. They pop up across the board, from the political arena to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, the competitive world of sports, and even within the high-stakes, cutthroat world of business. Each field has its own share of these notorious characters, each with their own unique brand of rebellion. So who are these bad boys that we're talking about? Let's dive in and find out. First up, we have the bad boys of politics. Now, when we say bad boys in politics, we aren't talking about your run-of-the-mill politicians. We're talking about those notorious figures who've raised eyebrows and stirred the pot with their controversial actions and behaviors. Take, for instance, a politician who makes headlines not for their policies, but for their flamboyant personality and brash statements. Such characters don't just push the envelope, they rip it to shreds. They're the rebels of the political world, defying conventions and often creating a media frenzy. Then there are those politicians who seem to thrive on scandal. Whether it's financial improprieties, personal indiscretions, or dubious dealings, they manage to stay in the limelight and keep us all guessing. They're like the bad boys of a high school, always testing the boundaries of what's acceptable. But let's not forget the political bad boys who play the system like a well-tuned piano, bending rules and exploiting loopholes to their advantage. These are the master manipulators, the Machiavellian maestros of the political stage. So why are these individuals considered bad boys? Well, it's primarily because they step outside the traditional norms of political conduct. They're audacious, they're unorthodox, and they're often unpredictable. But one thing's for sure, they're never boring. Politics is indeed a tough game, and these bad boys sure know how to play it. Moving on, let's talk about the bad boys of Hollywood. This vibrant world of entertainment is no stranger to rule breakers, rebels, and those who march to the beat of their own drum. These are the ones who dare to defy conventions and expectations, often finding themselves in the spotlight for their audacious antics. In the heart of Hollywood, we find a handful of these so-called bad boys. They're the ones with the smoldering gazes and devil-may-care attitudes who've made headlines with their unorthodox behavior. They push boundaries, challenge norms, and disrupt the status quo. And in doing so, they've earned themselves a reputation. But why do we label them as bad boys? Is it merely their rebellious actions and controversial decisions that earn them this tag? Or is it something deeper? Perhaps it's their willingness to confront and question the system, their audacity to break the mold that Hollywood so often tries to fit them into. Maybe it's their charisma, their charm, their raw talent that sets them apart. Their stories are not without controversy, their actions not without consequences, but their impact undeniable. Their influence reaches far beyond the silver screen, permeating our culture, shaping our perceptions, and challenging our norms. In the land of glitz and glamour, these bad boys certainly stand out. They remind us that Hollywood is not just about conforming to expectations, but about challenging them. They're a testament to the power of individuality and the allure of rebellion. Now, not to forget the bad boys in sports and business. These two arenas, often filled with high stakes and intense competition, have been no stranger to their fair share of controversy. And it's not just about breaking rules of play or corporate law, but about challenging norms, pushing boundaries, and walking the line between genius and recklessness. In the world of sports, the bad boys often stand out for their audacious style of play, their brash attitude off the field, or their refusal to conform. They're the ones who don't just play the game, they change the game. They're the ones who make headlines, not just for their skills and their victories, but for their behavior, their controversies, and their unabashed disregard for convention. Switching gears to the business sector, the bad boys here are the mavericks, the disruptors, the ones who don't play by the traditional rules of business. They're the ones who take risks, who push the envelope, who dare to dream big and act even bigger. Their actions may often draw criticism, but they also command attention, and in many cases, achieve unprecedented success. Whether it's in the field or the boardroom, these bad boys don't just challenge the status quo, they redefine it. Their actions, their styles, their attitudes, they all make waves, and they all make for compelling narratives. In the competitive worlds of sports and business, these bad boys always seem to be in the spotlight. So, what makes these bad boys so captivating? Well, you see, it's not just about the rebellious streak or the audacity to push boundaries. It's the inherent charm, the charisma that often accompanies these traits that draws us in. These bad boys, they're not just rule breakers, they're also trendsetters. They're the ones who dare to be different, to challenge the status quo. They're the ones who make waves, who leave an indelible mark on society for better or worse. They captivate us with their audacity, their fearlessness. They intrigue us, provoke our curiosity with their unique perspectives and unconventional approaches. They are the mavericks, the outliers, the ones who refuse to conform. But with this fascination comes a fair share of criticism. For every admirer, there's a skeptic. For every fan, there's a critic. This is the paradox of the bad boys. They are both admired and criticized, loved and loathed. Yet, despite the criticism, the bad boys continue to thrive. They continue to push boundaries, to challenge norms, to blaze their own trails. They're the ones who refuse to be boxed in, who refuse to be defined by societal expectations. From politics to Hollywood, sports, and business, the bad boys of USA are certainly a captivating bunch, aren't they?